Good afternoon, everybody, and good morning to those on the West Coast. My name's David Donaldson with the National Center for Grow Your Own, and excited to welcome you to our state spotlight on teacher registered apprenticeship expansion, featuring the amazing and innovative work happening from Colorado Department of Ed, Delaware Department of Ed, and the Utah State Board of Education. Excited for you all to get to hear from those folks today. For those who may not know about National Center for Grow Your Own, we're a 501c3 nonprofit whose goal is to create a world where you can become a teacher for free and get paid to do so. And I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that, unfortunately, today we lost a musical legend, Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys. And so I'd just like to add here, in the words of Brian Wilson, wouldn't it be nice if this could actually be true here? Where we could create a world where you could become a teacher for free and getting paid to do so. And states like you're going to hear from today are actually accomplishing that and putting that in motion. So it's going from wouldn't it be nice to it is nice what's happening in states like Colorado, Delaware, and Utah, and many others across the country. A few announcements before I'll turn it over to my dear colleague, Dr. Carla Warren. Save the date now. We will have our third annual national convening on registered apprenticeships and teaching taking place January 28th to the 30th with our dear friends at NASDAQ. Shout out to Jimmy Adams and the executive committee over there. It will be taking place in New Orleans. It's sold out every year. We're expanding to 400 attendees this year, so hoping to get more people in off the wait list. Sign up for our email list. We'll post on LinkedIn when tickets are available. Right now, we're going through approving speakers and things of that nature, but hopefully tickets will go on sale sometime in August or September. Also, if you are from a state agency, we actually have a really awesome trip coming up in August, August 18th to the 22nd, hosted by our dear friends at Craft Education. And we're able to take a cohort to Oxford, England to study apprenticeships along with a cohort of our friends at National Governors Association. So we have folks coming from state education agencies, state apprenticeship agencies. We have state superintendents attending. We have representatives from the U.S. Department of Education coming. And so just really excited to have that event. If you are interested, please email me. Our team will put my email in the chat. But if you're from a state agency, we have a few slots left if anyone is interested in coming to Oxford this August. 2 years ago, right around, yeah, exactly 2 years ago, we worked with the state of North Dakota to get the K-12 principal occupation eligible for registered apprenticeship. Wanted folks to be aware that a year ago, we then put out a playbook with North Dakota on registered apprenticeships for principal. It's on our website. Please take a look at it if of interest. Some upcoming announcements, though, related to this we wanted folks to be aware of is that pretty much any day now, U.S. Department of Labor will release a national guideline standards, referred to as an NGS, for the K-12 principal that we worked with on North Dakota on. We just met with USDOL again on Friday, and we also discussed with them a new occupation that will hopefully be approved any day now for a lead teacher. And so we want to continue to build those opportunities for folks to be able to become a teacher for free, for folks to be able to become a principal for free, but also you shouldn't necessarily have to go into administration to make a living wage and a great wage and to frankly be a leader. And so we want to have other opportunities for teachers to be able to pursue leadership opportunities where they still can remain in the classroom if that is their desire. As someone who I've been a teacher and I've been a principal, we got to retain. We'll never recruit our way out of the teacher shortage. The best strategy here is having a retention, a high performing retention strategy, and lead teacher is one way to do so. So just be on the lookout. We hope to have those announcements very, very soon of the approval of both the national guideline standards and a new occupation. Also, really excited that next month we'll be welcoming the National Teacher of the Year. Missy Testerman will be joining our team. It's kind of a big coup for us to get her, and we're very honored that she would join our team. We also have Dr. Lisa Barron, who is currently the interim dean of Austin Peay State University, which was the first ed prep provider to have a registered apprenticeship in teaching in the nation. So we're just kind of, try not to freak out that we're adding Missy and Lisa to our team next month. This combines with our recent acquisition of Subschool, an online learning platform to train and provide professional development opportunities for substitute teachers. 1 out of 3 subs want to be a teacher, so we think it's the next evolution for helping recruit and expand the pool of grow your own candidates. And also with adding Lisa and Missy's expertise, we're actually working with states, specifically right now, Arkansas Department of Ed, for them to become their own ed prep provider. And we are working on creating our own ed prep provider program so that we can work and offer an opportunity in any of the states that we currently partner with. So just very excited to be adding their expertise. If there's anyone on this call that's interested in a free demo of Subschool or is interested in what would it take for my state or my district to become our own ed prep provider, please reach out to us as well about that. And then earlier this week, Governing put out a story on how teacher apprenticeship programs are spreading like wildfire. And so that was a nice way to start the week. This article includes the origins of the teacher registered apprenticeship during my time as chief of human capital at the Tennessee Department of Education, when worked on led the application process there. Just want to give a shout out to the Tennessee Department of Education and all the amazing leaders and former colleagues that are there doing awesome work as well. The story also covers some of the work happening in North Dakota, the first state we ever worked with once we left Tennessee and created National Center for Grow Your Own. So just really cool to hear perspectives there, as well as the community that we've built in this space, in the teacher apprenticeship space. And so that community that I'm referring to is with our National Registered Apprenticeship in Teaching State Network. So a bit of a mouthful there. We launched in August of 2022 with 7 states. Today we have 44 states plus Washington, D.C. and the Department of Defense. And one of the reasons I'm so excited for those attending this webinar today is because I've been blessed to be able to hear from Delaware, Colorado, and Utah as they've presented to the state network. State network typically meets about once every 4 to 6 weeks. All the meetings are off the record, so you have to be a state education agency or state apprenticeship agency member to attend. And every session, we have a different state present on what they're doing. I strongly believe that West Virginia can learn from Nevada and New Mexico can learn from Wisconsin. And sometimes it's learning about, oh, okay, now I know not to try that. I appreciate you willing to, be the guinea pig and try to figure these things out. And also sometimes you're like, I never would have thought that something that happens in Maine, who just presented on Friday, would work, here in Montana. But sure enough, and it's awesome to see that community built. So I'm just, I know that you all are in for a treat. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to my dear colleague, Dr. Carla Warren, who will be moderating this webinar with the amazing states of Colorado, Delaware, and Utah. So Dr. Warren, who created the first youth registered apprenticeship in the nation for teaching while at the West Virginia Department of Ed, I get to brag about you. Please take it away.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Well, we are excited. As David said, we've gotten to hear a full presentation. So today's webinar is really just a spotlight. So all the contact information will be included if you want to reach out to any of these great educators and gather some more information. So today we're going to spotlight what is happening in Colorado, Delaware, and Utah, and looking at how these states are building innovative apprenticeship and grow your own models. Each of these states brings a unique perspective that's shaped by their student populations, their cultural context, and their policy environment. As we move through the presentation, feel free to put questions in the chat, and our team will do our best to address the questions throughout the presentation. If we have time at the end, we will do some Q&A, but you'll have that contact information if we don't get to that at the end. So without further ado, I want to turn it over to my colleague, Kristen Gunnell from the Colorado Department of Education, and take it away.
Well, hello, everyone. So excited to be with you. Grateful for the opportunity, but also really grateful to be in community. As David said, this community has supported us as we've grown and developed, and can't thank you enough for all that you've shared with us. Also to the National Center for Grow Your Own Team, because you just walk the walk in creating such a personalized experience. At least for us, you've been able to hop on webinars, hop on calls, talk with us at conferences. And so we also are just so appreciative of you. And so we'll move then to the next slide. So my name's Kristen Gundel. I am the Teacher Apprenticeship Specialist at the Colorado Department of Education. My colleague Megan Livinguth is here as well, and she supports all of our educator preparation programs, including apprenticeship. And so she's going to be here to make sure I don't stumble on anything, and we'll add on if needed. So Ben, you can move to the next. So we thought we would share three key pieces with this group today around our legislation that we have in Colorado, the accompanying guidelines, and then some key aspects of the apprenticeship roles that we have here in Colorado. So we do have state legislation. Our legislation passed in spring of 2023. So we've been working to articulate what's named in that legislation, which outlines the pathway for our teacher degree apprenticeship program. So it does create a pathway to attract teachers to the profession. It does build on the current elements that we have established here around alternative licensure routes. And it also is designed to support rural residents to stay and to continue working in their communities. So I named that alternative pathway piece. So in Colorado, for quite some time, we've had an already established alternative licensure pathway route, which is for candidates who already have a bachelor's degree, but are interested in acquiring that teacher license and or an added endorsement. And so they work as full-time classroom teachers, and they obtain that licensure in addition to serving as that classroom teacher. Whereas our teacher degree apprenticeship model is really adding to sort of this portfolio of options that we have for those to come into the profession, where it opens the opportunity to a variety of candidates, including high school students, instructional paraprofessionals, district staff, and community members. I will name, though, that in our current iteration and where we are currently, generally we have instructional paraprofessionals who are coming into this pathway, although we are building our high school aligned high school pathway more and more and more as we get deeper into it. So in teacher degree apprenticeship, the candidates could come with no previous learning experience and work towards obtaining that bachelor's degree and teacher license. And then, of course, you all know this, right? The work is embedded and it's happening alongside the work and the learning simultaneously. I won't spend time with traditional because I think everybody knows traditional, but we do have those here in Colorado as well. So I named that we have legislation, and then as the Department of Ed, we are charged with creating guidelines that support and articulate more deeply those legislative outcomes. So in our guidelines, we have levels of apprenticeship named. And so we actually have a total of 5. The reason I don't have the 5th one is that it's really a culmination of the 4 previous. So I just saved space on the slide to not have it listed there. But in our levels, we have these guidelines to help create some protections around the experience for the apprentice. So it does ensure that there's dedicated learning time for the apprentice so that they can move through those levels. It also helps us ensure rigor and make sure that we have some alignment to that. So level 1 is our named pre-apprenticeship time. This is when a candidate might be getting exposure to the teaching profession. We anticipate this will likely be mostly for our high school candidates who are coming in and beginning to see if this is a fit. We do have other high school and concurrent enrollment pathways that we're starting to see districts hook up with the teacher degree apprenticeship program. And so that's where we really see our level 1 coming into play. Levels 2 through 4 are aligned to our teacher quality standards here in Colorado. And the teacher quality standards articulate what we believe is high quality teacher components of high quality teaching. And so each of these additional levels is then aligned to competencies that an apprentice would be appropriate for an apprentice to complete aligned to those teacher quality standards. So you can see in that beginning apprentice level, it's aligned to our teacher quality standard 2, which is really around creating a quality learning environment for a diverse population of students. Then we also have, then moving into level 3, the opportunity for candidates to continue to hone their skills and understandings around quality standard 2, but start moving into some additional teacher quality standards with 1 and 3. And this is when we're really talking about creating and planning for the delivery of instruction and facilitation of learning. In level 3, at the end, the candidates will need to demonstrate content competency. And this is because we will have, as a part of level 4, candidates moving into a teacher of record experience as a culmination of having moved through those previous levels. And so they'll continue to hone their skills and understandings around all of the teacher quality standards. They may still be completing some requirements for the bachelor's degree during that level 4. I have a note there, if we have a special education teacher apprentice, they would need to complete the bachelor's degree prior to that level 4 because of the expectations around ID. Oops, sorry, Ben, I clicked something. Now I can't see the screen. There we go. Oops, sorry. Sorry, y'all. I'm not sure what I did. Oh, there we go. Apologies. So you can see here, we know that the legislative requirement to require a teacher of record experience is unique. But the articulated guidelines do help provide some of that needed assurances around what the experience will be like for the apprentice. And so they do move through what we're calling a life cycle of apprenticeship. So the initial observation and guided implementation while learning alongside a mentor is happening at those initial levels. And then they move into the application of learning, of course, both of those being alongside and guided by a mentor throughout. And then finally, they move into that independent application with opportunities to continue partnering and learning alongside their mentor teacher. And so while we have a formalized or a level of formality to our model with that stated requirement of the teacher of record experience, it does follow those foundational principles of an apprentice incorporating and understanding and having that opportunity to learn alongside a mentor while they acquire understandings and competencies along the way. And then finally, our last piece that we wanted to uplift for this group that we think is maybe somewhat unique to Colorado is that we at the Colorado Department of Education do not serve as the sponsor, which does allow us to have the opportunity to really be the connector and to build partnerships across these 3 roles. So any public school, district, or BOCES can be an employer if they choose. As a department, we do come alongside the employers and start to help them think about, is this the right pathway? What do they have in place already? And what might be some infrastructure pieces they need to consider as they start thinking about this moving forward? So we offer a lot of wraparound support, particularly to our employers, as we see them as the real leaders in the design of the program development. One key piece is that they do have the autonomy to select the related instruction provider that best makes sense for their workforce needs and the apprentices that they will be bringing into their model. So the related instruction provider role can be any educator preparation program that can meet the expectations that are articulated in our statute. And every program will be reviewed by CDE for alignment to the teacher quality standards as well as the endorsement standards. And then finally, the sponsor. And so if the sponsor is not also the employer, and we have some examples of that where it is an additional educator partner, then that sponsor can also support the program development if they can demonstrate that they have had experience either in apprenticeship or in educator preparation program development, and they will need to be approved by the State Board of Education. And in fact, all of the entities will go to the State Board of Education for approval and review throughout the process as part of our piece that we work alongside our state apprenticeship agency to develop. And with that, I'm gonna pause, but want to make sure you have my contact information. would be happy to connect with anyone who's interested in talking more. And we also linked our webpage. So if you take a picture, I think you'll get access to these slides as well. The things I've named here, so legislation, guidelines, playbook, all of those pieces are in there. And so take a peek or reach out. And thanks for the chance
Thank,
to share.
thank you, Kristen. And I know Megan's in the background there. Thank you for showing us what is possible when innovation meets commitment. And I have linked from the slide the information about Colorado's program in the chat if you're interested in accessing their webpage. So we're going to head east now and head to Delaware. So I'd like to welcome Katie Burns from the Delaware State Department of Education to talk a little bit about the stackable apprenticeship model that they are using in Delaware. So Katie, welcome, and we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Carla. And just wanted to start off by thanking the National Center for Grow Your Own for inviting us to speak today, but also being such a wonderful support for us as we are developing our pipeline. So really wonderful and really excited to be here. So as Carla mentioned, Delaware is looking at our apprenticeship model as more of a stackable pipeline to create teachers all the way from your teacher academies or your high school students who are in CTE, all the way through a registered youth apprenticeship option. So I'm going to talk about what that whole stack looks like at a high level of detail. So I want to make sure I introduce myself first. My name is Katie Burns. I'm an education associate in early engagement and teacher career ladder at the Department of Education here in Delaware, and really excited to take on this work. So just to give you kind of a quick little visual of what we're looking at. So as I said, our recruitment pipeline doesn't just start, later in your life or in your career. We're looking at this as if we have high school students who are engaged in pathways, how do we support them and help ensure that they are receiving an affordable, really high level of teacher preparation education to help them serve in our communities and our schools? And can we make sure that that training actually takes place in a community where they feel really comfortable and who is really familiar with them as well? So our first step on that pipeline is our teacher academy. So as I mentioned, all of our high schools in the state of Delaware offer a teacher academy, and we just went through a curriculum redesign to make sure that our competencies and standards were aligned, and that as many of our as our credits that we can, as far as dual enrollment and or AP classes, how do we make sure that we are meeting some credit needs towards their associate's degree, but also making sure that they're gaining those key skills at that high school level that set them up for success to be able to finish out their education faster if this is an area they want to stay engaged in. And so this work, we just launched the new curriculum this past year. It was developed by a focus group of community-based organizations, higher education representation, and school district representation throughout the state to ensure that it met the needs and requirements there. We'll be doing some quick little tweaks this summer and making sure that it is ready to go for the next academic year. Now here's the piece that I've been working on, and that's the paraprofessional registered occupation. So really, really wonderful news for us. We are piloting this program this upcoming academic year. We have 2 employers, 2 school districts that are going to be partnering with us, and we have 10 apprentices who are currently registered to join us for that. Really excited to do this work. Those paraprofessionals, though, who are being hired, there's 2 different profiles that we're looking at. But I do want to say that this apprenticeship model was actually something that is being pushed from the top down. So our new governor's first executive order 1, actually asked us to register as many youth apprenticeships or apprenticeships for education as possible. And so this is a piece of us trying to fulfill that need and desire. So let's talk about those 2 profiles of a paraprofessional. So the first one, this is your high school student who's graduating. They want to become a teacher. We want to support those goals. They pass the Para-Pro exam their junior year as a part of their teacher academy requirements. Therefore, they can be hired as an instructional para for the upcoming academic year. One of the two districts that is partnering with us, this is their vision. This is what they are doing. So we are taking on 7 of their high school students who are graduating, and they will be working during the day as a paraprofessional at whichever grade level they are interested in becoming a teacher in. And then at night, they're going to be joining us in finishing out their associate's degree, their 60 credits, at night at either WillMU or Del Tech, 2 of our EPPs. Once they earn those credits, we're then going to roll them into our next level of apprenticeship to earn their bachelor's. So this is our first profile. Our second profile upcoming is if you're already an existing paraprofessional, you do not have education credits that meet those associate's degree requirements, but you want to become a classroom teacher. And this could be no prior higher education experience in education, or you could have a couple of credits that transfer from here or there. They would remain as a paraprofessional in their classroom setting, and they would then complete their coursework at night, like our high school students were going to. And once they earn those credits, we then, of course, roll them. Now, if they have existing credits, obviously that's a quicker process. My other LEA that is working with us for the pilot, this is their model. They are not adding units. They are actually just growing those units from their existing. So really excited to see that. And then here's the piece that has been in place for 2 years now. And this is my colleague, Anne Lavingana Clay's work. So essentially, there's your 2 options here as far as your higher level of apprenticeship if you're looking at your bachelor's plus for us, and that is your grow your own para teacher and your teaching apprenticeship. So there are very specific partners as listed for these apprenticeships. Each have their own different set of qualifiers. And both have been very successful. We actually just graduated our first class of apprentices through this program, with 28 wonderful apprentices graduating actually last week on Wednesday. And we now have 71 new apprentices signed up between these 2 to become teachers in the next few years. Okay, and we're funding it in a bunch of different ways. So we're looking at this as braided funding. If anyone has information on Save Competitive, I would really love to hear from you. But we are working, the one piece that I want to make sure that I share is that this is not possible without the close relationship we have with the Delaware Department of Labor. They are willing to work with us. They actually scour grants and opportunities for us that they have access to help ensure that we are set up for success and that we can scale, even if it doesn't look like our goals, if, pending any applications being successful, unsuccessful. All right, and what does this look like in the future? You might have seen that there was a youth registered apprenticeship on there as well. And that's true. So we're looking at this in phases. How do we create a seamless pipeline with as many on-ramps as possible? And so our registered youth apprenticeship, since it's for your ages 16 plus, where that would start with our students who are already in that teacher academy pathway, and they are then eligible and know that this is what they want to do. And so their work-based learning opportunities would start their junior year. I'm working with EPPs in the state to ensure that those can be met and as seamlessly as possible to meet the need in our state and for the types of teachers that are being requested. Paraprofessional work post-graduation. So once they hit that 18 mark, they would be hired as a paraprofessional with night classes to earn their associate's degree. We also use strategic staffing in Delaware. So if you are doing this model, any of the pieces of this model, we are saying that this district is committing to helping move you through the process. And at the end of the day, provide you with a classroom to teach in within the district that you were trained in. So that is Delaware's stackable model. Thank you so much. Please feel free to reach out, or if you have any questions, I would love to be able to address those.
Thank you, Katie. And Tiffany, I think that Katie answered your question, but I'm going to read it. And Katie, since we have some time, if you want to add any additional information for paraprofessional one, are those high school seniors hired as full-time paras? When are their remaining high school requirements being met? I believe you answered that, but if you want to add
Yeah.
anything additional.
No, absolutely. So those for paraprofessional one, they are graduating seniors. So they have left their high school experience. They are being hired over the summer, and then they will be starting as a paraprofessional in the district for the upcoming academic year.
Thank you, Katie. And I would just say congratulations on graduating that first class of registered apprenticeships in teaching. I know we celebrated here at the National Center for Grow Your Own. So anyone who wants to see some of that footage, head over to LinkedIn to be inspired. That was super exciting for Delaware and for the movement. So thank you, Delaware, for highlighting how thoughtful design and strong partnerships are driving real impact in your state. We appreciate what you shared, and we're going to head back out west now to our colleagues, Dr. Malia Height and Christina Guevara. Got it right, I think, Christina, and hear what's going on with the Utah State Board of Education. So welcome, Malia and Christina.
Well, thank you so much, Carla, and thanks to National Center Grow Your Own for the invitation to share some of the things that are uniquely Utah about our apprenticeship program for teachers. Just as a kind of broad overview, in Utah, we have one program for our registered apprenticeship for teachers, and the state education agency is serving as the intermediary. Our apprenticeship is 100% competency-based for all teachers, including preschool special education and regular preschool K-12. We are entering our third year of funding for some SAFE grant funding that we were awarded a couple years ago, still waiting on, as many of you states are also waiting on the determination for this year's grant proposals. But one of the great things that we were able to do with those funds was we were able to have a full-time apprenticeship specialist, and that is Christina Guevara, who's going to share some of the things that are uniquely Utah about our URAPT.
Thank you, Malia. Hi, everyone. Again, I want to echo Malia's sentiments about thanking National Center for Grow Your Own, but I also want to directly thank the states of Oregon and North Dakota, who were so generous and kind with me last summer to meet with me one-on-one, allow me to pick their brains, ask questions, and I certainly learned a lot from those conversations. And due to that wonderful outreach that we received, we were able to design a program that addressed the local needs of our candidates here in Utah, but also really learn from those who came before us. One of those big areas that we found was having really high quality expectations for our journey worker teachers. Utah's program does have two phases. So we have our pre-apprenticeship for those who are completing their first 2 years of their college coursework. And then we have our full apprenticeship, which is the remaining 2, potentially 3 years of college coursework. What we've come to find is that having this high level of requirements for our journey worker teachers is really allowing our employer partners to be so mindful of who they select to come into this space and really guide these pre-service teachers. And that actually kind of allowed us to also refine further our board rule, which we had approved last September, but now have submitted a revision, are waiting for full board approval. So in addition to having a license, professional license in the same area that the apprentice is seeking their licensure, we really want to make sure that they had time spent with that professional license demonstrating their knowledge and their content area knowledge. But what was super critical, and I think certainly sets our program into a really good space of providing those accurate supports, is the requirement we have of our journey workers having a coaching or mentoring endorsement. One of the lessons we also learned was continuously seek feedback from the field, which we have. And again, we were able to revise our board rule to expand the offering of earning that endorsement to include an associate level endorsement. What we came to found is that offering the associate level endorsement allowed us to onboard additional employer partners, especially some of our smaller LEAs. We were coming to find that it was just a little bit more challenging for them to get someone in place to serve as the teacher of record to also hold that endorsement. So offering this bridge to that endorsement has allowed more employer partners to come on board, and especially in some of those critical need areas that we have in Utah, which was elementary education and special education. So with these qualifications, we've really found that there are some unique benefits that come to the apprentice themselves, as they really do have alignment with their license area. They really are receiving that guidance from someone who's demonstrated their expertise working with children. We also wanted to make sure that as a journey worker, that they really stepped into that mentorship space with the right qualities to support an adult learner. Certainly we know that wonderful teachers are amazing, and that translates beautifully with students, but it's not an automatic translation to working with adults. So we felt requiring the coaching and mentoring endorsement allowed us to really focus on our journey workers having adult learning theory in place, understanding coaching methods, making sure that they have appropriate models of communication, but also what we're excited to bring on with what we'll be developing over the next year or so is a very specific journey worker teacher endorsement, which is very, very much in just conversation space right now, but that's going to allow us to really elevate the strategies of co-teaching practices, as this apprentice in the classroom really is serving in the role of that co-teacher as they're in their pre-service years. Next slide, please. What we have here is we've also listed out just information if you wanted to take a look at some of those differences. Again, as we were reviewing our endorsements, we really had to pinpoint what are those key components that were really going to allow that journey worker teacher to begin that high level of support for their apprentice. But also giving them an opportunity to complete that full endorsement. I myself had the privilege of going through that endorsement just a few months ago, and I can certainly speak that had I had this knowledge when I myself was training teachers directly, it certainly would have made a large difference. So we really have some wonderful aspects within our 2 endorsement options for our journey workers. We have supports in terms of how do you generate a mentorship schedule, what sort of items do you speak about, really zoning in on confidentiality, timekeeping, mutual respect, and information a lot of us have learned kind of by default as we've supported other teachers, but really cueing in our journey workers to this component is going to allow them to further strengthen the foundation of support that our apprentices are going to receive as they're learning the job of teacher. Next slide, please. One of the differences that we do have here in Utah is that we do not have our apprentices serving as teacher of record. We do have an alternative pathway that has been in existence for several years now, and that does support our teachers who come into our LEAs and have their bachelor's degree, allows them to really focus on earning that professional educator license while they are already serving the teacher of record. What the team before me identified as a really critical component for our Utah program, and I thank Malia for the work that she did leading that team, is really committing to the idea is that we want this apprentice to be consistently in that learning space. And so taking off the responsibility of serving as that teacher of record, we've come to find that really allows that apprentice to be in that learning space, test the waters, if you will, but have that safety of knowing there's always going to be that journey worker right side by side with them. And that is quite a big difference between what we offer with the UWrapped and what we offer with our alternative pathway. Those teachers are already teachers of record. They do receive mentorship, but it's not the side-by-side expectation that we have for our pre-service apprentices. So having that requirement kind of shifted off of them, their journey worker remains the teacher of record. It allows them to focus on learning all of the aspects of becoming a teacher. It allows for that stronger mentorship as they get to develop that relationship over time. It also offers stability to the students. I've said several times to our candidates as I've gotten to meet them over the last several months that they themselves are the first teacher candidates in the state of Utah who will get to know a group of students from the beginning of year to the end of the year, and in many cases over multiple years. The look on their faces when they realize this opportunity for themselves, knowing that the first time they're with the classroom for a full school year will not be their first year as a licensed teacher. It's priceless. I wish I could take their picture of their faces and put it on every presentation we share. But lastly, what this also is going to allow is for that gradual development of skill mastery. And what we've actually shared with our partners here in Utah is really emphasizing the idea of elevating that apprentice as a co-teacher, kind of sharing what does that shift or that sharing of responsibility look like as there's that gradual release of responsibility from the journey worker to the apprentice to really step into that teaching space and work side by side. And once we really have those conversations, even with our journey workers, they themselves get very excited at the opportunity of having such a high level individual supporting their classroom. Next slide, please. Our next step that we're looking forward to, and again, came from that initial group who conceptualized what does educator prep look like in Utah, is connecting back to our CTE teaching as a profession pathway. I'm so excited to hear that other states are fully in this space. And again, kudos to Carla as she connected me with her colleagues in West Virginia to really talk through what do those opportunities look like to have a fully registered pathway for our high school students who are interested in education. What we really wanted to ensure is that there wasn't a disjointed opportunity from those who start within high school taking those CTE courses, and then as they move on to the pre-apprenticeship and then the full apprenticeship. We've done some really fantastic partnering with our CTE specialists here at the state, really looking at embedding those wonderful work-based learning strategies and concepts into our pathway. And we're in the early talks of having conversations with LEAs who have expressed that early interest, really trying to be creative and strategize on how do we keep those connections so that they really can move from being a high school student in that CTE program to completing that pre-apprenticeship that they would begin during those high school years, finishing that up just after graduation, and I hope in some cases actually completing that pre-apprenticeship. Who knows? We have wonderful students who graduate high school with their associate's degree. So this really could be some of our youth apprentices who are completing that pre-apprenticeship and then moving right into that full apprenticeship. And as I've heard mentioned recently, really apprenticeship for us is an extension of that opportunity to work with students in the class as a pre-service teacher, excuse me, versus what I've heard in some other conversations that it appears to be kind of a quick, fast pathway to the end. And certainly can look like that, but we maintain that high rigor of expectations. Everything that we're offering and requiring of our participants in our program really is at the same level of all of our educator prep programs within our state. And again, that comes from that work of the early team who not only conceptualized what's going to work best for Utah, but was so mindful of bringing in our higher ed partners, our LEA partners, and having a full conversation. And I think what's really going to contribute to our success is how we continue to develop those relationships with our employer partners, with our university partners, but also as they give us that feedback to continue to flex and refine. As I mentioned, we've revised our board rule based on that feedback that we've received. And we really hope that we continue to grow in this space and develop a program, provide a program that's really going to meet the needs of our changing climate here in Utah. But we're so excited to share and certainly, again, extending that gratitude to all of the states who've shared their work through these meetings as we've learned so much and really applied that to the development of our program, the implementation, and kind of what our next steps are looking forward. So our contact information is on the next slide. Should you have any questions, we're happy to partner. And please know that I have no hesitation reaching out, asking for questions myself. So you might be hearing from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. You said something really that hit a nerve for me. I know when David started this work, when I started this work, there were very few resources. And I know that I would grab on to every webinar, every publication, every article, anything I could find to grow my knowledge to work on the program in my state. So webinars such as this one provide opportunities, no matter where you are on that continuum, to learn from each other. And I found that the apprenticeship work is so collaborative that other states are so willing to share what they're doing and their resources, because we know at the end of the day, it's all about getting kids the teachers they need and they deserve. And I think that's really what is inspiring about this work. I will say that each state is approaching this effort with a deep commitment to quality, strong partnerships, and a clear focus on supporting future educators. We're so encouraged by the momentum of our states and the creative strategies using to strengthen the pipeline, whether it's a rural recruitment or robust mentorship or aligning pathways. So we have a few moments left. So I'm going to ask every panelist to come back on camera for just a few minutes. And I just have a couple of targeted questions based on some of what you presented. And since we just finished with Utah and I made you last in alphabetical order, you know, my name starts with W, so I totally feel your pain. We're going to start with you, but I want to talk a little bit more about the mentorship, strengthening that journey worker. I'm really intrigued by the journey worker endorsement, and I can't wait to learn more about that. But I know with some of the states I work with, the challenge is finding that journey worker in the first place. So how have you navigated if there's not a deep pool of mentors to draw from to make sure that you're getting that high quality mentor to put in the classroom with that apprentice?
I think it certainly has helped that we've made that expansion of offering that associate level endorsement. I know that some of our employer partners were very much kind of in the wings waiting to begin until they had some of their teachers complete that full endorsement. And I actually just had emails this week from two of our employer partners saying, I thank you for sharing this, because now we can have them potentially wrap that up by the end of August and get started. And so I think responding to those questions, but also guiding those individual conversations. One of the requirements for an employer partner to come on is that we actually have a one-on-one meeting before they begin their recruitment. And that really allows us to speak to their needs, to understand, do they have a deep pool? And if so, guiding them to have those conversations with their potential journey workers. We also offer a stipend with our budget. And certainly as we get sustainable funding in place, that's going to be one area I know Malia and I are super committed to, is padding that area of the budget, because these wonderful teachers will do the work anyway. The more that we can honor that with a financial compensation, the more that we know we're elevating the work.
Thank you. And in case you didn't see the chat, Christina, our dear colleague Susan Bowe in Oregon is going to be reaching out for updates. So I'll pass that along for you, Susan. And then, so I think I'd like to ask Katie, thinking back to the early stages, and I know that you've been in this work more than a year now, but looking back at your early planning stages, can you identify a barrier, maybe a barrier that you underestimated, and how you adjusted to keep that apprenticeship work moving forward?
I can jump in and answer this question.
Thank you. Thank you, Malia.
I went face first into barriers as we started working in this space. I think one of the biggest barriers that was a surprise for me was that I'd spent time listening to other states' experiences and how they had set up their apprenticeship and things that were successful and things that were maybe not as successful. And so I had this idea of what I wanted Utah's apprenticeship to be like. And I thought, okay, we're going to get all the people together that we need to get together, our employers and the LEAs, and we're going to get everybody here. And we're going to share all this information, and they're going to obviously see what I have come to the conclusion that clearly the best practice is what we should do. And there was a lot of resistance to some of those things because it was so different and big. And the language is different. Even the term journey worker still is like, what does that mean? And what is this related instruction that feels weird? Vocabulary has been weird, and the amount of change has been really hard as we have tried to navigate this brand new landscape. But if you can persist through those barriers and get everybody to a common understanding, then you've got the group together and the momentum to really get to really amazing places.
Yeah, that's where networks like this one come in handy, because you're constantly. I used to joke that with my staff at the end of the day, I would say, okay, can we identify one win? Did we one win that we created today? Kristen, do you want to jump in and talk about any of the barriers that you specifically faced, and how you navigated those?
Yeah, I mean, I echo what Malia just named around just, we're bringing together in our world a state apprenticeship agency as well as Colorado Department of Education and a variety of other partners. And so, yeah, I think it took us a hot minute to find a way to really communicate with each other and to set a really strong foundation for how we're going to work together, collaborate, and lead together on that. So I think that was one of our initial pieces that we had to really put a lot of time in, and to be honest, we continue to do. So it's not like it got all fixed. That it really is an ongoing partnership and an ongoing navigation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Katie, we were talking about any type of barriers that you faced at the beginning of this work and how you navigated that. So, do you have anything to add to the conversation there?
So two pieces for Delaware. First, unfortunately, our apprenticeship office at the department here in Delaware, Department of Labor here in Delaware, was like very understaffed when I started. And I know you and I met and discussed this as well. I am new to apprenticeship work. And so as you're trying to learn and you're trying to lean on your best rough resources in the state, just having not a ton of people to reach out to who are very overworked with the apprenticeships that they're managing in various different areas, it created its own really unique challenge. They have now filled those positions. And so I'm very grateful to have more access to someone who specializes in the areas I'm working in. So that is just wonderful, but it was a very large challenge for me as I was looking at the beginning of this pathway.
Absolutely. So my background as a teacher was mainly in first grade. So I've drawn a lot of my professional knowledge from first graders, and we always would talk about future stories, creating a future story for those students. So as we prepare to close today, I want you to define a future story. We'll just set the goal as the third annual national convening on teacher registered apprenticeships in New Orleans. So when we meet together in January in New Orleans, think ahead about the future story for your state. What do you hope will be true when we see each other in person in New Orleans? And I'm going to start with, let's start with Christina and Malia, both of you, either or both.
Sorry. I think for me, it would be that we have that sustainable funding in place. We're certainly grateful for the SAFE grant that we've received and are crossing our fingers for the upcoming awards that we'll be learning about soon. But I think for us, sustainable funding at the state level will not only provide the funds needed to have the program move forward, but I think it's going to really highlight the commitment of our state and our leaders here of moving apprenticeships for teachers forward. And I think that speaks a lot to those future educators, especially those that are in high school or those that are in classrooms serving as support staff. And so I think really sending that strong message, that's what I would love to come to that convening with information that we get to celebrate.
Wonderful. We will celebrate. Kristen, you want to go next, and then we'll give Katie the final word.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, so many places we'd love to, but I think a place we're thinking deeply about, it's so excited to hear from Utah yet again, who has educated us so much around the robust work they've done around mentorship and supporting those journey workers. And so I think we've been convening and collaborating with a really unique cross-divisional and departmental and organizational team to think about how to design a really robust yet tailored and flexible mentorship model. So I would really love to come in January with something that can fit sort of that niche of how can it be tailored, but also offers enough support for districts to get started, because we know the success of the apprenticeship or the apprentice is going to really hinge on the support we can offer that mentor.
That's right. And every state that we work with or engage with is struggling with that challenge. So I think there's a lot of learning to be done there. So great. Thank you. And Katie, if you'll share, what do you want to come and talk about when we see you in January in New Orleans?
I am hoping that we are able to scale from our first pilot year for the paraprofessional registered occupation into the second, and that I have a mostly complete youth registered apprenticeship that is about to be ready to be registered with the Department of Labor. So twofold there, but those are my goals.
Those are great goals, and those are all achievable goals. So as we finish up today, I just want to thank you again on behalf of the National Center for Grow Your Own for joining us, sharing your insights into your state's teacher apprenticeship work. Your leadership is what helps shape what's possible for others. We appreciate all of you who joined us today. If you have additional questions, please feel free to follow up. Our contact information is here at the bottom of the screen. Stay tuned for future spotlights. We're looking forward to doing this again as we continue to learn from this growing national movement. So thank you all and have a great summer. Get recharged for the next school year. Take care. Bye-bye.